Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth episode of the Team Leader Capacity Building. I'm very happy that you're going through this, and I hope it's being helpful. So, the topic of today is going to be the performing phase. Let's review. We have the objectives of understanding our core, what ISEC is as an organization, to understand our role as team leaders, and to get the knowledge, skills to be the best team leader and become experts in team management. So, the last two episodes, we were talking a lot about team standards. We had a team standards overview of everything, and last episode we got deep into the building phase. So now we're going to go deep into the performing phase. So let's start by just reminding ourselves what we saw in the first episode of team standards, that is the objective, the timeline, and the tips and tricks of performing. So in the objective, the performing phase, mainly what it looks for is to make the team perform. So it's very simple. So the objective is to allow the team to reach to a level of performance, to have clarity of the goals and actually accomplish those goals, and to support your members through the whole team experience. What is the timeline of this phase is from the moment that the onboarding ends and you finish the building phase and until the beginning of the last month. So the whole team experience basically will be performing. And some general tips and tricks, then you will have also some tips and tricks for this episode. But what we saw the last time was creating a routine with your team for the meetings and also the working times, to create a clear and visual scoreboard and always keeping your goal up front, and to always recognize in public and feedback in private. So let's get into more details. So we have the first part, the first sub-phase of performing, that is results elevation. So we have three parts: practical learning, teams working time, and team incentive system. So in the practical learning, what is it? What does this mean? What it means is that it's learning by doing. It's establishing a plan of things to be learned and how they will happen. So one of the main ways of learning, like 70% of the way that we learn as people, is through doing the things. So if we actually provide spaces of practical learning, of people working together, then it's going to be super easy for them to learn quicker and to have results more fast. So when can this happen? You can start having it on the week 2 and the week 3, and when there's new processes implemented. So my recommendation, always have practical learning spaces with your team. And if there's new stuff that your VP came back from a conference, maybe there's a new tool, maybe there's a new concept. So try to always have these explanations that are of the new concepts or new processes through a practical learning. The team working time is this can be a moment in which the members have practical learning, for instance. So what is this? It's a moment in which the whole team gets together and works. And you guys should have a routine for this. It shouldn't be random. Of course, if you have an office, it is also very nice to just get to the office and work. But try to get a routine. So maybe having 2 working times per week or 1 working time per week, so that you always know that at least at one moment of the week, your team members are going to be totally focused on what they need to be doing. And in another tip for this part is always have a goal for each working time. So if we're trying to get accepted, let's get a goal for accepted for this working time. If we're going to have to contact applicants, okay, let's put a goal of how many applicants we're going to contact. Every single actions that we do, we can establish a goal for it, a measurable for it. So let's do this so that each working time is not just us chilling or just talking about what we did in the weekend, but actually working and having an efficient moment. Because in this way also you will help your members to actually organize their time better. They will have a better time management. And assign tasks for follow-up after the working time. So if we had, for instance, the working time of contacting the applicants, then a task could be, let's follow up these applicants. Send them an email about the information that you had, or track the application that they do, things like this. And when can this happen? It can be set, the routine can be set in the first week during the team rules, and you can make them happen every week. And in a team's incentive system, the LC may have an incentive system, a rewards and recognition campaign. So you need to downscale it to your team. Your team needs to know what they're going to be tracked for and how they can actually accomplish the goals. And this can be introduced in the very first week, in the very first month of the experience when you already know what the LC incentive system is. And it can be followed up weekly in each team meeting. How are we doing with this incentive system? How much are we accomplishing? So the second part is the performance tracking. And here we have a couple of items. So accountability system, individual tracking meeting, weekly review, monthly review, and quarter review. So in this part, the accountability system, what does this mean? So this just means that our members are being kept accountable of the things that they need to do. So the team needs to understand what are the key performance indicators, which mean basically the milestones that allow us to get to our goal, which is the measure of success, the final measure of success. So they need to understand this, and they need to have a tracking system to see how they're doing. So this can be done in the very first week. Maybe you can organize a tracking tool. Maybe your VP will give you a tracking tool that you can implement, or you can do it by yourself. And you can have a track weekly in each team meeting. How are we doing with these goals that we set? Then when we go to the individual tracking meeting, you have, what does this mean? It means tracking individually each member in their performance. So not only on how are they doing in their personal development, but also in the performance. How they're working, are they actually accomplishing their goals? Are they actually working for those goals? And this can happen monthly. Then for the team the team reviews. So we will have a weekly, a monthly, and a quarterly. So weekly, it means once per week, and this happens in the team meeting. So this is basically what is our current state of the performance. How are we doing with what we planned? How many are we accomplishing? What is the percentage of accomplishment? How are we doing? What are the actions that we need to do so that we can accomplish the goal of this week? And then we need to also evaluate monthly. So when the month ends, let's set a meeting, or maybe just do a longer team meeting for the monthly review, so that you can actually review the accomplishment of the whole month. What was the things that you planned for the whole month? Where were the things that were accomplished for the whole month? What worked? What didn't work? What are the things that need to be improved? And having like a space of feedback among your members, so they can also learn from each other. They can also develop themselves with each other. And lastly, the quarter review. Quarter means 3 months. So if your team experience starts now in August, then August, September, and October is a quarter. So you can do a quarter review and understand what is the accomplishment of the quarter, and what are the gaps, what are those things that we still need to work on, and how can we actually influence and replan for next month and for next quarter some of the actions that we had. What are not working, we can change. And then we go to the support system. In the support system, we have also several actions that we can do to support our members. So we have the lead spaces, the team meetings, the one-to-ones, the team days, and the feedback. So in the lead spaces, what is a lead space? It's based on the LDA results. Remember that we said that in the building phase, they have to take the initial LDA, the initial leadership development assessment. So there we know what are the elements that they need to develop. And we can choose one of those items, one of those elements to develop our members, and choose what is the global learning environment to do it. So if it's going to be an individual moment, if it's going to be a team moment, and we can actually have these lead spaces once per quarter to actually make our members develop their core competencies, their skills, their leadership qualities, etc. Then we go to the team meeting. This is something that is more of a routine. So you have the routine, and you fix the date and the time, as I told you guys in the last episode. And just try to make sure that you are constant with this, and that the attendance is a non-negotiable, that all your members are there, and that you have a clear agenda to follow each week. Then for the one-to-ones have to happen monthly. You have to have a one-to-one with each one of your members. And the one-to-one is basically an individual space with this member, and the objective will depend on the timeline. You can review the personal development goal, you can give or receive feedback, you can do the individual tracking in regards to performance. It will depend on how the member is performing. Then we go for the team days. And team day is to connect personally and not professionally. So it's a moment of team building. It's just having a space with the whole team and trying to feel more like a team, and it can happen quarterly. And lastly, feedback. Try to always give and receive feedback so that you can get better and also your members can get better. And try to recognize the work of the members that are doing a good job. So here you can do once per quarter in each review, and also you can give feedback in the one-to-ones. So that was all, guys, for the performing phase. So some tips and tricks that may help you guys with this phase is organizing all the working spaces with an agenda, with actually a goal to work for, and all the materials that you will need. So if you need the computers, let them know that you need to bring the computers. Don't take it for granted. And also bring food. There's no team working space without food. So try to bring some cookies, some snacks, and it will be a more enjoyable moment for everyone. For the accountability part, I recommend you guys to track your people in two ways. First, you can make them think of the three battles that they will have this month, and they can be personal or they can be professional. So, what are the three things that they want to do this month, and what are the three actions that they will do each week to accomplish them? I have been through several teams already, and this is the only way it actually worked for me. This was just learned by me like a couple months ago. So this is a very good tip and trick that I hope it works for you guys since the beginning. Then, drive the accomplishment of the team goal as a non-negotiable. Try to always make your members push for their own goal. They need to know if they have to do one approval or two or three, and always try to make them work for that. Respect the constancy of the team meetings. Have an agenda always, have the current state, the focus of the week, the actions of each member. You can even put lead spaces into those, or you can even educate your members in other stuff that you think that it's interesting. So maybe time management, for instance, or performance management. And lastly, analyze the need of each one of your members before the one-to-one and try to bring something new each time that you have a one-to-one with them so it doesn't become boring or just a routine as a checklist so that you don't forget anything, guys. So establish the routine for the working times with your team, follow the entity's incentive system, create a tracking tool for your team and include a very clear scoreboard, set the weekly team meetings and review the performance of the week, host a monthly and quarterly review with your team and organize team days, provide a monthly one-to-one for each one of your members, and host a feedback space. So that was it, guys. You can all go to the blue book also for this one. It has more information. And thank you. See you in the next episode.